Hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to draw anatomy. I'll start out with the torso area. The main structure of the torso starts at the rib cage. The rib cage is in this type of egg shape. If it's hard to understand the egg shape and you can't quite see this type of egg shape in a three-dimensional form, replace this egg shape with a box. Note this is a box with form. It just looks like a 2D shape because it's seen at the front. So I'm going to go with both types. Now we're going to add the shoulder joints in the circles at the top side of the rib cage. Same here with the box. And we're going to draw the pelvis. But before we talk about the pelvis, let's talk about proportions, because we want to know the basic proportions, and this is the thing that we have to memorize. I usually measure my figure with the head, and right now I don't have the head, but approximately the rib cage is about 1.5 heads long. So the head would be about this big, right above the rib cage, above the neck. Let's just draw it in like that. And then under the rib cage, about a head long, would be the pelvis. But the pelvis itself is about half the length of the head, just like that. And I like to draw the pelvis in a bean shape, once again with round masses. But for those of you who want to go with boxes, that just has a hard time understanding three-dimensional shapes, you could go with boxes, just like that. You can see better form with boxes too. And then the head too. The face, I'll draw with more boxes. The face is kind of a long square, but I'll talk about that later. And of course the neck. Let's draw a cylinder for the neck. Nice cylinder. There we go. Now let's go for the arms and legs. The arms and legs are cylinders, of course. And the upper arm goes down to the rib cage. Let's draw cylinders. We're drawing the edges round. I don't want to make my drawing flat. And then for the joints, similar to the size of shoulders, right here we have the elbows. Let's draw the joints in spheres. And the cylinders again for the forearms or the lower arms. The forearms will end right below the pelvis. Should be a little longer here. This is when we use our handy eraser. I don't know if we even got erased, but anyways, now for the wrists and more spheres. And let's draw the hands just like that in simple shapes. Because the head or the face and the hands and feet are very detailed. So let's talk about that later. Let's practice this on our boxy figure. Once again, draw that cylinder in, down to the rib cage. Spheres for the elbows, and more cylinders for the lower arms. Then we got spheres for the wrists, and then the hands in simple shapes. Now let's go to the legs. The legs are similar to the arms, just thicker. So the width of the pelvis, about the width of the rib cage, which is a little longer than the head, tilted to the side. When we go down, we're going to draw joints for where the legs can move. So we're going to add spheres for the joints right at the top of the legs with large spheres. Note that there's a little space in between and that the cylinder, the legs are much, much wider. Go down to about the point where the length of two heads are, and this will be where your knees will go. Draw the knees in spheres, once again because the joints should be spheres. And then a little above is where the upper legs will end. Of course, in wider cylinders, just like that. And in the length of two more heads, that's where your feet will end up. So the entire legs will be 4 heads long. And note that the top to the head is also 4 heads long, approximately. 1 for the head, and then 1.5, and the neck would be 2, and the pelvis and this space in between for the belly is another 1. So in total, it's 8 heads tall. Coming back to the lower legs, draw cylinders once again, and then the joints coming around there for the feet to come in. And the feet, once again, in simple shapes. Let's do this again for our boxy figure. As you can see, while I make these larger spheres for the joints of the upper legs, you can see that the pelvis, usually being that box or bean shape, slightly curve in the shape of underwear. And this is also the shape you can go with instead of the bean or the box. So you could have, what I'm saying is you could have started with this underwear-like shape with the halves cut off, the little space in between here. So this is where you fit your large spheres, and then like the same, longer and more wider cylinders for the upper legs. These are cylinders. Spheres for the joints, and then we go down spheres for the ankles. These are cylinders. Just trying to go in speed here. Am I going too fast? And feet here, simple shapes. So this is going to be the proportions of the figure. This is the figure in simple shapes. When we go into anatomy, we're going to start adding muscle here, like adding shapes to shapes. And I'll come back with a little rest. Okay, I'm back. Now let's draw in the side view. This is, of course, the front view. Now let's draw in the side view. I'll draw in the side view with boxes just to show more depth and because it's easier to comprehend. This time we'll start with the head. So just draw the head in a long box. Actually, the shape of the head from the side looks kind of like this, with a sphere and then the head slightly in a chin like this. It's this shape, but for now, let's just think of it as a box. Since it's at the side, it just looks like a flat box, but think of it in 3D. Next is the neck. The neck starts up here at the skull, but let's just draw it like this in a cylinder. And then is the rib cage. Now the rib cage at the side, it doesn't go straight down. It slightly curves in this direction. I mean, that's too much, just slightly like this. So the square, the rib cage would look like that. And of course, since it's a square, let's give some depth here. 3D shapes. This is what your rib cage will look like from the side. As you can see, it's tilted. And then for the pelvis is tilted like this when you're drawing females, but when you're drawing males, it's not gonna tilt a lot. So let's just draw it pretty straight like that. Of course, give some depth. And then the spheres for the legs. And of course, what I said about this underwear type shape, if I gave that shape to the pelvis would actually look like this from the side. And then the sphere would fit in right here. You understand, right? Why am I asking questions if you understand to a camera? Going down, cylinders, the knee, and cylinders. The ankles, and the feet in simple shapes. Now let's go back to the arms. The shoulder joint will be at the side, and then cylinder for the upper arm, ending approximately at the end of the rib cage. Sphere for the joint of the elbow, and then another cylinder that ends at the pelvis for the lower arms. Joint for the wrist, and let's draw in the hand in simple shapes like that. Now there are more lumps and bumps and shapes when you can see it at the side, but you can see that when you add the muscle anatomy, and you'll see that soon. I'll show you soon. But before that, I'll also draw one more mannequin, one more, you could say, figure for the back of the figure. It's going to look pretty similar to the front of the figure because there's nothing on, there's no face, there's no eyes and nose whatsoever. So let me just pause the video and just draw this in once more right here. And I'm back, and there we go. This is the back of the figure. As you can see, there's barely any difference from the front. You can just see that the neck kind of starts a little higher compared to the front because the chin part would be showing more. As you can see from the side view, it starts around here on the back. The front, you're only gonna see a little bit of the neck. I'll talk more about the head later on, the head and face, and the hands and feet. Let's talk about anatomy now. Starting from the neck, there are trapezoids. Traps you call, from the shoulder and the rib cage. Connect these lines to indicate traps, which kind of looks like triangles here. And these traps from the sides will look kind of like that because these traps, it's kind of at the back side. So at the back area, you could see the traps. The traps actually connect to the neck, so you could see a lot more. As I said, the traps are at the back. You can see here, there is a little diamond shape because the muscles around it kind of create that diamond shape. So the traps go like that. That's all for the traps. And then let's go for the chest area, the pecs. As you can see, the traps are slanted upwards, slant downwards for the collarbone to show. And this is where your chest muscle will start. Go down about half of the rib cage and then create little points at the bottom and connect this to the shoulder muscles right about there. And I'll draw the shoulder muscles starting here with these slants slanting towards the middle, slanting outwards, rounded shoulders like that. The shoulders at the top aren't that round compared to the side, so let me erase a little bit of that. And I am starting to think that I should sharpen my pencil. Okay, coming back, the chest muscles. Let me just make it symmetrical. The chest muscles, this is going to be collarbone, and chest muscles will go like that to about half of the rib cage and then go upwards. This shape is this shape right here, going upwards. And then the shoulder the shoulder muscles will wrap around in like a heart shape. There's one muscle group at the front, one muscle group at the back, and one muscle group at the side, just like that. The side muscle group, which is in the center, isn't as tall, so it's going to look like that. This is the shoulder muscles. And then let's draw the abs. Around the width of the head, you can draw a line downwards, passing the rib cage, going to the pelvis, and then tapering down to the very end of the pelvis. This is going to be the abs. It looks kind of long, but this is actually kind of the belly area, and the abs will be somewhere around here. The abs will end at the top of the pelvis. So in this area here, let's divide it in 4 shapes, in 4 pieces. And divide it again. These pieces actually aren't straight lines. Kind of goes upwards like that. And then there are more muscles beside this muscle. One muscle beside this top one, and 2 in the middle, and 1 right here at the 3rd ab. This could be different depending on the body type, but I like to memorize it this way. And then between these 4 tiny muscles, there are 3 gaps. That's where 3 more muscles will be. Just like that. Kind of looks creepy because kind of darkened in too much. So let me just do that once more. The abs in this upper shape. And then of course this part cannot be seen because this bottom part is the entire lower ab. Then again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. And then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. This is the abs. And then at the back side, this will be the back showing at the front, tapering down towards the abs. This is the back part showing. And then this middle part, you could go inwards and then outwards, ending at the top of the pelvis. This is going to be the belly. It's a very fluid and organic type of body because a lot of twists happen around this area. So we're going to draw it like that. And then the pelvis starts a little wider over here. Now the abs, same here at the top of the pelvis. Boom, divided in 4, boom, boom, boom. The abs will show 1, 2, 3. Over here is going to be the belly. So let's just make a round shape like that. And then the abs will look tapering upwards like that because the side muscles 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 like that. And then continuing with the back, let's first draw it here in the back, coming back over here. The shoulder muscles flat on the top and round at the sides. Let's draw that in. And it goes just a little larger than the shoulder joint of the sphere. It just wraps around round like that. And then following this diamond shape, we have kind of like this triangle shapes, 2 triangles up here. We have 2 triangles down here. And this shape is kind of rounded in like this. And then over here, we have 2 muscles that are divided like this. Round end here. The muscle divided like that. And then this is actually extended a little more. And then we have this large round muscle that tapers down to the waist. And then similar to the belly here, goes downwards and then lumps at the top of the pelvis. Let's not make this lump too thick because then your character might look fat. Just like that. And taper this in here. And draw in the center. Like this. This is going to be the back. Now let's go to, what should I go into? The arms or the legs? First, am I missing anything? Yes, I am missing something. I didn't draw the back on the side view. So similar to here, these muscles, because this guy's arms aren't stretched out and they're just loosened, the muscles will look a little popping at the side. So these muscles will look a little round there. These 2 muscles showing like that. And then these 2 muscles being these 2 muscles. Can you see it? And then this large piece of muscle tapering down. Now, as we go to the butt, let's draw in the legs next. Now the butt looks like this shape right here. First divided in half, and then we're going to draw the half of an octagon. Not like this, and divide it in half and put this on the other side like that. I'm going to draw this shape for the back of the butt. So this pointed part at the outside, go a little upwards above the pelvis. And this is the point actually where the belly starts to curve in a little organically. And then let's draw in the 2 hexagon halves like this. And then connected to this outside part is the side of the thighs. Bring it along. Because it's the sides, you're not going to see much of it. Just give a little bump at the sides. Of course, tapering down. And then the back of the legs are hamstrings. And these can be divided in 2, just like that. Of course, there's more muscle, but let's just not go into too much detail. And then the lower legs, of course, the calves are also divided in 2, just like this, on the upper areas. Just like this. And of course, everything tapers down. A lot more for the back to the Achilles over here. Taper it down, and then this will be the heels, and the inside calves are going to be a lot longer, so the ends of the calf muscles will be slightly slanted like this. That's the back of the legs. Now for the front of the legs, in the middle section of this area, draw in a line coming down, and then the outside of the thighs bump outwards, just like that. The thighs are thick because there's a lot of muscle at the legs. And then above the knees, let's draw 2 raindrops like this, just above the knees. The insides are going to be pretty flat. The insides are flat and the outsides are pretty round. Then we got the knees. Let's draw the knees in some squaric angled shapes. And then, as you remember from the back, the insides go a little lower. So draw in the legs, bumps a little lower in the inside, bumps a little higher at the outside. Of course, tapering the legs to the ankles. Just like that. The muscles here are kind of seen at the front. There's a long muscle at the outside. Alright. And for the pelvic area, taper in this part over here. And remember this shape in between the torso and legs. This belly is round. For the legs, really, you don't need to remember that the calves are in 2 muscles and the hamstrings are in 2 muscles. The quads are divided like in these teardrop shapes and all of that. Just remember the bumps and lumps for the legs. See, I'll show you in this mannequin here. Remember that the legs bump outside and have this shape that goes inwards on both sides. This happens at the upper legs and at the lower legs too. Kind of goes inwards. In the figure over here, the cylinder just goes straight down or maybe just tapers in an even degree, but real human anatomy slightly curves in like this. This is the legs and this is the feet, like that. So before we go to the sides, let me show the leg anatomy in brief gestural shapes and curves. Goes like this, bumps at the ends here, the knees, and then like this. Of course, we have a little bit of muscle showing here. As you can see, it's curve here going inwards, curve here going inwards at the bottom there too. Let's erase that. And it's supposed to look a little like this. Now from the sides, let's not worry about all the muscles. Like this, let's think about gestural bumpy shapes. From the sides, at the front, slightly curves inwards and it goes straight down. And at the back, it slightly curves inwards, and the calf muscles. Because of the calf muscles, it slightly bumps outwards like that. So, of course, the butt is a little bumpier because the butt has a lot of fat. And then from here, curve down. From here, we bump outwards for the calf muscle, and then we curve inwards. At the front, bump like that, and at the front of the lower legs, we just go straight down, just like that. So no need for all this. There's just too much muscle information. Just remember these silhouettes of the legs. Now for the arms. Let's draw the arms from the front. You got the biceps in this long hexagonic round shape, and then we got the forearms in the shape with bumps at the sides, with the bump at the outside a little higher than the bump in the inside. These are all the muscle groups, of course. But like I said with the legs, if there's just too much muscle to memorize, just think about the silhouette. Here at the shoulders, a little straight at the upper arms, and then bump, bump, and taper to the wrists. This is the hand. And this bump is a little lower. Remember to taper this at the wrists. And of course, this is what it looks like at the front, and at the sides, it's kind of different. It goes straight down at the lower legs, and there's bumps at the upper arms. The biceps here, and then the triceps, a little larger, but the bump rounder and larger. Just like that. And then, got this muscle piece, looking a little larger at the sides, and the lower arms going relatively straighter down at the sides compared to the front, having bumps. You can see it kind of has contrast for the arms. The upper arms are thick from the side view and thin from the front view, and vice versa for the lower arms. Thick at the front and thin at the sides. Lastly, let's draw the arms at the back. 2 muscle groups for the triceps, with 1 smaller muscle group in between, and then an angled elbow, and then once again same silhouette at the front, high bumps at the outsides and low bumps on the insides. This is all muscle, but just remember the silhouette if it's too much information, and taper to the wrists. This is going to be it for this video. Details on how to draw the face, hands, and feet, let's do it on another video. But for now, let's take it easy, guys. Let's get better together. God bless.